One decision, one tariff. And just like that, the United States turned its back on hundreds of thousands of American workers. In 2024, Washington didn't go after Chinese imports. No, this time the target was Japan. But not the Japan you imagine overseas. These were cars made right here, in places like Ohio, Tennessee, and Ontario, built by American hands, on American soil. Toyota, Honda, Nissan. These companies weren't just foreign brands. They were American employers. They pumped life into small towns, paid union wages, and even led the electric vehicle push. But with a sudden 25% tariff slapped on their vehicles, Washington sent a chilling message. Loyalty doesn't matter. Overnight, these longtime partners were labeled as threats. But Japan didn't shout or retaliate in anger. It did something far more dangerous. It quietly began to walk away. And now, the damage is rippling across the U.S. auto industry. Especially in electric vehicles, where the stakes couldn't be higher. When most Americans think of Japanese cars, they picture imports. But here's the truth. 1 out of every 3 cars on U.S. roads today has a Japanese badge. And many of them weren't made overseas. They were built right here in America. Toyota, Honda, Nissan. These companies didn't just ship cars in, they invested, deeply. Over 3.2 million vehicles are built every year by Japanese automakers in the U.S., in factories located in Tennessee, Alabama, and Ohio. That's not outsourcing, that's roots. Let's break it down. The Toyota Ray V4, built in Kentucky, Honda's best-selling Accord, Ohio, and the all-electric Nissan Leaf, that rolls off the line in Tennessee. These aren't foreign companies acting like guests. They've been part of the American industrial family for decades. Take Toyota's $13.9 billion battery plant in North Carolina. It's designed to create 5,000 jobs and fuel the U.S. electric vehicle transition. But with one tariff, all that trust was shattered. The message Washington sent was loud and clear. We don't care how much you've given. You're still not one of us. And to Japan, that cut deeper than any tax ever could. Japan didn't rant. It didn't hold press conferences or threaten sanctions. It just moved, quietly, smartly, and with long-term vision. Weeks after the tariffs hit, signs of retreat started popping up. In Japan's Kyushu region, Nissan suddenly cut production of 13,000 Rogue SUVs, vehicles once destined for American driveways. At the same time, Toyota began shifting EV production out of Alabama and over to Thailand, planning to roll out 100,000 electric vehicles per year from its new hub in Southeast Asia. But the biggest move came in China. Toyota inked a $2 billion deal to build a new EV plant in Shanghai. That wasn't just business, it was a message. Japan wasn't going to beg for American approval anymore. It was preparing for life beyond the U.S. Here's the twist. These moves didn't just come out of nowhere. Many of them were in the works as early as 2018. That's when Japanese companies quietly started preparing for a future where the U.S. might turn inward. They saw the warning signs, trade wars, rising tariffs, and nationalism, and began planning their escape route. By the time the U.S. acted in 2024, Japan had already packed its bags. Japan's quiet exit wasn't just a business decision, it set off a chain reaction across Asia. First, Tokyo doubled down on the CPTPP, a massive trade agreement the U.S. once helped design and then walked away from. Now Japan is helping lead it. The message to other Asian economies? We don't need Washington to grow. Next, South Korea started rethinking its options too. Samsung, one of the world's biggest tech giants, began weighing deeper chip deals with China. And with the rise of electric vehicles and digital infrastructure, China looked less like a competitor and more like a necessary partner. Then came the real shift, ASEAN. Southeast Asia is fast becoming the new auto hub. Think of it as the Detroit of Asia, but spread across countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. China provides the roads and market. Japan brings the car tech. The result, a new supply chain, and the U.S. isn't in it. The U.S. once sat at the center of global trade. But now, the world's fastest-growing region is building a system that works without it. While the United States was busy putting up trade walls, China was rolling out a red carpet. Beijing knew the future was electric, so it moved fast. It offered massive subsidies for new energy vehicles, and used those incentives to lure in partners. Japanese and Korean automakers couldn't ignore the offer. It wasn't just about cheap labor. It was about being part of the next big leap in green technology. One of the boldest moves, BYD, China's top electric vehicle maker, partnered with Toyota to develop solid-state batteries, technology that could change everything from charging time to driving range. And where are they making them? Not in Detroit. In Shanghai. China didn't stop there. It brought South Korea's LG into the picture too. Together, these nations are locking down the electric vehicle supply chain, from rare earth minerals to final assembly. Meanwhile, the United States is scrambling. Why? Because the key ingredients for this electric vehicle revolution, like refined lithium and cobalt, are still controlled by China. So, while Washington talks about made in America, the actual building blocks of green technology are quietly moving east. Washington thought it was taking a stand for American workers, but it completely missed the bigger picture. Right now, over 2.29 million U.S. jobs are connected to Japanese automakers. Think factory workers, parts suppliers, car dealerships. These aren't just numbers. They're real people in places like Kentucky, Ohio, and Alabama who depend on Japanese investment. And yet, when the EV tax credits were rolled out, hybrids from Japan didn't qualify. Even if they were more fuel efficient than some American models, they got snubbed. Why? Because they weren't made by a Detroit brand. But here's the kicker. The very companies Washington tried to protect, like Ford and GM, are now deeply reliant on the same foreign supply chains the U.S. is trying to push away. Take the Ford F-150 Lightning, America's pride in electric trucks. It runs on Chinese lithium, GM's cutting-edge Ultium batteries, powered by Korean technology. So in trying to punish Japan, Washington ended up highlighting just how little of the EV future the U.S. actually controls. Instead of building bridges with allies who were already here, America built walls. And now it's watching its own EV revolution slip away. Now the U.S. stands at a crossroads, and neither path is easy. Option 1, Washington reverses course. It rebuilds trust with Japan and Korea, maybe even strengthens USMCA ties with Canada and Mexico. That would mean updating policies, dropping some tariffs, and making real room for allies in the EV transition. But that window is closing, fast. Option 2, Asia fully decouples. Japan, Korea, China, and Southeast Asia build a self-sustaining trade zone, one that leaves the U.S. on the outside, watching as the future of auto tech, EVs, batteries, AI logistics, gets written in a different language. Then there's the wildcard digital currencies. China's digital yuan is already gaining traction, and some insiders say Japan and Korea are exploring how to join the system. If that happens, it could reshape not just car deals, but the way trade is done globally. That's power Washington can't sanction or block with tariffs. This isn't just about cars anymore, it's about who writes the rules for tomorrow's economy. And right now, the U.S. is losing not because China is stronger, but because it pushed its friends away. So did the U.S. just hand China the keys to the future of the auto industry? Think about it. Factories that were once buzzing with the production of American-made cars are now seeing a shift. Global partners who were once allies are starting to look elsewhere, while the very revolution the U.S. was supposed to lead, the electric vehicle revolution, is now being spearheaded by other nations. Across the Pacific, Thailand's new EV plants are expanding faster than expected. China's tech firms are locking down critical battery technology and EV infrastructure. And Japan? Well, Japan is no longer waiting for Washington's next move. It's already planning for the next generation of green technology, without the U.S. This isn't just about cars or tariffs. This is about a seismic shift in how trade, innovation, and global influence are changing. The decisions made today, whether in D.C., Tokyo, or Beijing, are shaping the world of tomorrow. But here's the burning question. Will the U.S. realize what's happening before it's too late? Can Washington salvage its place at the forefront of the next big industrial revolution? Or will it sit on the sidelines as the rest of the world powers forward? If you want to understand how one policy decision, just one, can reshape the entire global order, this story is just beginning. Hit that like button if you're curious about how Biden's EV policy might play out and if it's the game changer we think it is. If you're interested in a deeper dive into the impacts on the American workforce, the global car industry, and the balance of economic power, let us know in the comments below. Subscribe to stay ahead of the curve on these critical shifts in global trade, because in a world where trade deals are being rewritten daily, the next move always matters, and we'll be here breaking it down for you as it happens.